Module 21. Wow, 20 modules behind you. And here we are at the end of the road. Well, not really, because you might be at the end of this road, but you're at the beginning of many more roads ahead of you. And even at the end of the 6-week support period, that may be the end of our initial time together, but it's not the end of prospecting, learning, and practice in any way whatsoever, because the cycle continues. This is a continuous learning journey. And just when you thought that, well, module 21, this is it, I can take a break, maybe it'll be easier, it's just a roundup. It is not without a challenge. Remember in module 4, I had you do an exercise, which I later, with a smile on my face, called a selfie video, and said that this is effectively your elevator pitch. And then I had you rate it, and then I had you set a goal as to what you want that rating to be by the end of the course. Well, here we are. We're going back to that now. So, as soon as you finish listening to this part, take your phone, put it on video, switch it to selfie mode so that you can see yourself. Put your earphones in if you want so that you can use your mic for improved audio quality, just to enhance your own experience of yourself doing this. And I want you in about 60 seconds, there's no particular restriction or goal around this, but about 60 seconds, to tell me a little bit about who you are, your business, what you do, how you do it, maybe why you do it, if it doesn't come through naturally, what makes you different, and how you charge. You got that? You don't have to grab a pen and paper, but I'll give you a moment in case I was talking away and you went to do that. All right, here we go again. A little bit about who you are, a little bit about your business, what you do, how you do it, maybe why you do it if it doesn't naturally come through. What makes you different, and how you charge. All right, go ahead and do that, and then go back to your initial rating in module 4 and have a look at what it was then and rate yourself now. Cool, how did that go? May I suggest that you go into the Facebook group and shoot another video? Just a few seconds saying how it was. At the beginning of the course, I did this, I rated myself this, and here, module 21, at the end of the course, I did the same thing again, and this was my rating. I improved by this number of points. Your story in this regard will be motivational to everyone else in the Facebook group, and this is a community of financial advisor prospectors. It's the only community that you will find of people so similarly minded and action to you. So take advantage, share, motivate, inspire, be part of it. All right, next. I have, let's call it a bonus piece of material. Mark Keating, CEO of Sales Guru, spent 15 minutes with me on a Zoom call. This is exclusive content, doesn't exist anywhere else. It's a conversation / interview between him and me. Enjoy. In your experience of working with sales teams, both in client relationships, client engagement, but also in the prospecting space, why do you think people find prospecting so difficult?
I think most people find prospecting so difficult because they suck at it. And it's potentially the hardest thing to do within a sales or financial advisory perspective is to prospect for new business. And I think, outside of getting into the referrals, if we're talking around the ability to actually pick up a phone and engage with someone, it's that whole mindset around it. And what's quite interesting is it's probably, I believe it is, the most unnatural thing to do in the world is to proactively reach out to strangers with the objective of potentially getting what we deem to be rejected and hearing the word no. So if I sum that up, why do they find it so difficult? Because they've never been shown a better way to get better results than hearing so many no's, and they're associating this no with personal rejection, and it means that we want to do less and less of it.
Why is it unnatural if, in order to continue the human race, a man had to walk up to a woman and say hello and then take it from there?
Well, great analogy. It's the same thing with a lot of people. If I'm carrying on with your example of walking up in a social setting up to a man walks up to a woman, generally it's done more that way. And, ask them if they can buy them a drink. Not everyone's going to say no. The ones that ask more will end up potentially getting a yes at some stage. But for many people, they see hearing that word no as personal rejection.
Okay, so it's about the rejection. It's that no. It's almost, there's this impact to it, which knocks them.
Sure. But the biggest challenge around this is that people are perceiving it to be personal rejection. They're taking it personally. What they are missing out is a massively important point. People aren't saying, and let's get this back into the sales environment. If I phoned you and I was you heading up your business and I wanted to have a discussion with you about potential offerings that we've got, you're not rejecting me personally. If I'm calling you, you're rejecting what it is that I'm saying or what it is that I've asked. And that's a big, big component, is that taking this from a personal rejection as to what I've asked. And a very simple analogy on that is, if you and I went out for a dinner, the waitress came up to us and said, so guys, do you want some dessert? And we both say, no, thank you. Does the waitress run off and cry for the next 20 minutes in the bathroom? No.
Right. We're not rejecting her.
We've simply said no to what it is that's been asked, and I'll move on. Not a problem. Do you want Irish coffee, etc.? I know the analogy means that we've walked into that place of business and ordered, but the same thing pulls across anything to do with sales. And it's the mindset to that understanding of, I think also what we taught as children, firstly, don't talk to strangers. What are we doing for a living now in a sales environment? Talking to strangers. Don't interrupt people. We're actually going out to interrupt people during their day, and we're going to see a no as a rejection.
Are you saying that a lot of what we find really difficult about prospecting has not necessarily to do with the process, but about feelings, mindset, and beliefs that have been instilled in us our whole lives?
Absolutely. I think to a degree it's what we taught subconsciously as children, but that's a part of it, because a lot of people can jump into this as an excuse. So it's the mindset, the importance. In my opinion, prospecting is the lifeblood of any business. You can have the most amazing product offering, value, everything else. If you're not engaging with enough people, you can help to potentially be better off, and qualifying through prospecting, your business is closed. So the mindset's there. It's then the activity of prospecting, and also vitally important, how we go about prospecting. I think it's a combination of all three, but it's very difficult to drive the activity and improve our skills if our mindset isn't in the right position.
What is the right position then? What is the mindset of someone who is successful at prospecting?
Well, I think first and foremost, to understand that it's a non-negotiable part of them growing their business. That in order for, the number one reason why their business exists, talking as a financial advisor, is to get people to utilize their advice, and through their advice, effective financial plans. It doesn't matter how good they are with everything and how great their plans and advice is, if they're not engaging with enough people that can be better off through what they do. So, I think from a mindset perspective, it's understanding that what I do adds value, and the mindset that what I've got to do in order to find the gold, in other words, the people that I can help, that I am a right fit, because you're not the fit for everyone you call. I've got to remove a certain amount of dirt to get to the gold. I'm not saying that when people aren't a fit, they do it. I'm using a simple analogy on this. But it is, or has been, is, and will always be, to a degree, a numbers game. The better you become, the better your ratios. But I also know quickly, Jason, that we're talking quite specifically here, maybe on a cold calling environment. And I personally believe it is the least effective mechanism at all for anyone especially in financial services and advice. Probably your strongest route on prospecting is more the avenue of referrals and introductions.
Mm-hmm. In your experience, what do the best prospectors do differently? And I get there's the mindset component, which in my language is a way of being, and there's the doing component, which is the action that you take.
So what do the best prospectors do? They do a lot more of it than the people with average to poor prospecting results. They've realized that it is non-negotiable. They make it a daily priority. People always say, I've got a time management problem when it comes to prospecting. We don't. We've got a priority problem that we haven't made it a non-negotiable. They're pretty clear in regards to the value, in regards to what they offer, and the belief that people are better off and that they're calling to help where there's a fit. They're not bothering people. They also have a recipe in regards to who they're calling, who do they serve best, who they're asking for. There's a recipe with what I like to call MAS, minimal acceptable standards. It's not just I'll get round to prospecting as and when and make some calls or ask for some referrals. They have minimal standards as to what does their prospecting activity look like on a daily, weekly basis, non-negotiable, and numbers. And then they've increased dramatically the skill, which means the way in which they are asking is about value to the other person, as opposed to talking about who they are, what they do, and why they think they're great.
So activity has not disappeared. The need for that is stronger than ever.
Absolutely, but doing the activity in a better skilled manner to get better results. Otherwise, it's that, the old thing of insanity, banging your head against a brick wall every day and hoping things change.
What about those that say, I'm not a natural born salesman? Can one learn to prospect?
Sure. We could chat about that for hours. So, people say, can you take someone who's not a natural born salesperson, teach them how to sell? I can teach the process. I can show you the structure. I can show you the framework. But it's like that old saying, give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. Teach a person how to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. Nonsense. Because the person has got to have the desire to want to get out of bed and do the activity of fishing every day. So I can show anyone the framework, and to increase prospecting results, but it's that inherent desire that they're prepared to make the daily effort that makes a difference. But absolutely, I can show anyone a framework that can be used, but not everyone's going to be a fit for a so-called sales position.
Does that then go full circle back to mindset? Because you can give them the tools, but they need to not only know how to use them, but to be prepared, willing, and have the desire to use those tools.
And I think you hit the word exactly what I would have headed towards, the desire. I don't believe anyone else can want the level of success for an individual more than they've got to want it for themselves. Your partner, your spouse, your kids, your family, your manager, your company, nobody can want your results, and nobody can want you to achieve better prospecting results than you've got to want to do it. But you've got to also understand, or the person has to understand, that this is a non-negotiable element. Hope is not a strategy, sitting around and hoping the phone rings or hoping someone might refer or introduce me. We've got to have a proactive prospecting strategy that we're prepared to implement and also improve upon, measure, review, and really make sure that this is non-negotiable as part of our process.
Right. If you were sitting in a room with financial advisors today and you did a presentation and you spoke to them about a lot of what you've just been speaking about, but you wanted them to leave with one implementable action right now, what would that be?
Referrals and introductions. And I think this has been around for decades. Some of the companies have their top 100 by 100 list, your circle of influence. The ability to ask people in your network to refer and introduce you to others. But understand that you earn a referral, you don't simply just get given it. And the way in which we can ask for those referrals and introductions is gold. That old saying, cold calling is God's revenge for not asking for referrals. I think the most difficult thing is, and I did this 26 years ago when I started in sales for a financial services company, grabbing a telephone book and making 100 calls a day is not going to get you the results that you need. Building a referral network and making sure the way in which I ask and the way I can provide value, and in closing, that call is about value, and a structure of the call is about asking them a question instead of telling them a statement. That makes a massive difference.
All right, next. Don't forget about these affirmations. I'm going to repeat them in week 1 of support, but I'm reminding you here now again. I'm not going to go into the detail of them now, but just between now and the time when I next speak to you in week 1 of support, keep those affirmations going. Say them out loud, repeat them to yourself so that you can hear them, so that you start to program your subconscious, so that you start to believe what you're saying, so that you can start to come from that place. I explain more in the document. All right, next. I just want to caution you against something that often happens with anyone in the prospecting space. Look, prospecting is hard. We know that. Sometimes we make it a lot harder than it has to be because we get caught up in our own head and sometimes in our own emotions around prospecting. So we find it safer and easier to sit behind the comfort of a desk, or even more so, sit behind the comfort of a laptop, doing work, keeping busy. Remember what I said about busyness being laziness? Don't do that. I want you to catch yourself. Catch yourself making excuses for doing stuff that is not the most important thing or things that you need to be doing. If you're sitting on social media, if you're building your website, if you're creating content, if you're taking longer than you need to doing a financial plan, if you're dropping yourself into admin for far more hours than you need to be doing, catch yourself doing that, because all of that is secondary. You are here for a reason. That reason is because you have a prospecting need. So prospecting needs to jump out into the front and be top of mind all the time. You have, through these modules, gained skill and competence. You've built capacity. You should be feeling a lot more confident than you were 20 modules ago. The trick now is to keep practicing. Structure and routine to keep up the work in this regard, to support you in keeping up that work, is absolutely so important. So make sure that prospecting is part of every single day for you. Whether it's you being in action around approach or you practicing connection with random people that won't necessarily be your clients, it's all practice for prospecting. So keep that up. Even though we're taking a very small break between now and week 1 support, I want you to keep all of this and this conversation that we're having right now top and front of mind, because it's not long until we're going to be revisiting all of this, all 21 modules, before moving into hard action in week 2 of support. I'd just like to acknowledge you once again for picking up your phone and accepting the challenge to do your elevator pitch once again. I'd also like to invite you onto the Facebook group to, because you're in the habit and practice of doing selfie videos, to do yet another one and share in a few seconds your experience of doing this. Just referencing, because everyone else in the group will have been through this or is going to be going through this or is at the same stage as you right now. Just referencing the fact that you did it. Module 4, your rating was this. Module 21, your rating was this. There's X differential between the two. Ask others how they experienced it, what's going on. You could even post your pitch to the group. That stimulates conversation and motivates and inspires others to do the same thing. And it's that kind of like-minded community that we're building up in the group. And just when you thought that we are so close to the end of module 21 and it's over and we're moving into 6 weeks of support, no, I have one more challenge for you. And it's an awesome one. And of course, I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone. I have no doubt that over the past 12 months, you have approached and connected with a number of potential clients, but perhaps there's some that you didn't follow up with for whatever reason. And maybe that's part of the reason you're here, to acquire the skills to do that. You also learned along the way here that it's not a no until it's a no. And you take potential clients, people you've had conversations with, and you put them in a prospecting pipeline and you follow up. So 5 people over the last 12 months that you've had a conversation with, but haven't necessarily created some pipeline or added them to an existing version of a pipeline, do that now. Add them to the pipeline and call them up and follow up with them. Doesn't matter how intimidating they were. It doesn't matter who they are, what societal status they have, what level in the company they have, what net worth they are. It doesn't matter. Of those that you have approached, connected with in the last 12 months, and you would still like as clients, I have no doubt that you can identify 5. Go to the document, write their names down. You'll see where it's prompted. Write their names down, and today, call them. Don't email, don't WhatsApp, don't do anything. Call them up and have a conversation with them. If it's 5 o'clock right now when you're doing this in the afternoon, don't do it. Wait until tomorrow. But if it's anything before 2 p.m., do it today. And if you don't get hold of them, do it tomorrow. And if you don't get hold of them, do it again tomorrow. And keep going until you get a no. You are after a conclusion over here. No gray area, no sitting on the fence. You're after a no or a yes. No is fine because it's about the journey and the learning. But you're after a no or a yes. Remember, you're inviting them to a first meeting. You prospected them or you had some kind of a conversation with them. The objective of prospecting is to get that first meeting. The objective of this is to follow up on the conversation and approach that you had and get that first meeting. All right? If you get a no, it's fine. If you get a yes, great. Post that in the group as well. All right, good luck. I will see you in week 1 support.